Welcome back to Liberty Farms and the Neo Wilson Railway. Spring, I think, is finally here. They're calling for 50s above freezing for the next 5 days at night. So things are going to really start melting. I thought it might be important to share a little water management with you guys. We still got a lot of snow. The four-wheelers and gator will not work yet because there's way too much snow. So we're going to take the snowmobile around the grade and we're going to go look at all the planning I did for the railroad for water management. We're going to look at our culverts. I've been around the railroad a few times before. Nothing has really melted yet. But today, look at, I'm in a shirt. It's beautiful out here. Let's go check out the railroad and make sure it ain't washing out on us. Well, we got a tree down on the railroad grade, so we're going to start by the driveway and go to the tree, and then we might come back around the other way. I don't know if I can drive over that tree anymore because the snow is actually settling, so let's go check that out. Yeah, the snow is getting very thin underneath. I pulled up here with the snowmobile and the skis drove over these railroad ties, and the snow between the ties just fell on its own. So yeah, look at this. Nothing underneath here. She's really starting to melt. So I gotta be careful, because if I take the wrong step, we could be in up to our necks here. Water here is flowing just fine. So this culvert is looking good. We got a pretty good sized culvert in here so it doesn't plug or freeze. So I guess I should fill you in on a little bit more. If this culvert does plug here, it will not wash out the railroad grade. Why? Like I said, the first year we were working here we had problems. So the parking lot is lower. So all of this runs down the side of the road, and then there's a high spot right here. So it just takes a detour around and then it comes through my property. But if for some reason this gets plugged, we lowered the parking lot lower than the railroad grade. So this will just fill up and run down, and it'll run down the side of my driveway back to the road, because the road is right over here. And it'll basically go the same way it came from, because it runs right next to the road right up here. Then it just detours around this hump, but it couldn't get back. And it'll end up in the same place. So it'll run down there and just run down the road and go to the same river. So not a big deal. It'll get us through the melt, and then we can address the problem in the spring if we ever have a problem. So I'm not too concerned about this. Railroad grade here will be just fine, but this culvert is working great. Let's move on to the next one. We got quite a bit of runoff here. My dad put this culvert in here, probably 70 years ago. It was a concrete culvert, and then he changed it at one time to this. So this culvert has been in here for years. We have never had a problem here, but it's always worth checking. Flowing really well, so this is a good thing. A little farther downstream, this culvert here is working fine. This culvert has been here for a very, very long time, and we've never had problems here. So it never runs this much, only during the spring runoff. So everything is looking good so far. Hopefully it'll stay this way and we won't need our pumps, but as long as it's not froze, we shouldn't need our pumps. Let's go check the next one. Well, it warmed up. It's very late. I think it's April 11th. We haven't had this much snow April 11th in a long time. This is not a creek. It's not a stream. This is just our field. And we've been opening this up again. They used to mow this. They cut and bale all this through here. This was all field at one time. It's grown up. we've been opening it up again. But yeah, this is just runoff right here. You would think there is a river in this area, but there is not. This is dry in the summer. So yeah, I just seen this much water coming through the fields, like, wow, that's pretty cool. All right, let's get to the next culvert. Water management. This is why it's important. All them fields draining. This is the big fill. This is where everything runs. This will stop running when them fields dry up and all the snow's gone. At one time, my dad had this across here, and it was a concrete culvert. And the joints went bad in the concrete culvert, and the rainwater kept washing it out. This has been missing here for, man, many moons, as my dad would say. The only thing I've been debating is whether I get another 40 feet of culvert, 10, 20, 30, 40 feet. We'll get to the other side here. We'll fill that in. We could put a much nicer slope on this and bury this, because this used to be the trail to get back up in the back 40. We'll clean that up a little bit, and then we could have an access point on this side of the railroad. So yeah, this is why water management is pretty important. Now, if we have problems here, I did put overflow culverts in. They're just up there, you can't see them. So even if this one did plug, yeah, I'm not worried about it, because the other ones are high and dry right up here. You can't see them through the trees, and I'm not gonna go up there from this angle. So like I said, if this one plugs, not a big deal. So you can see how much water runs through here. It'd be a disaster if this washed out, so that's why we put overflows in here, and that'll eliminate any issues of flooding. All right, this is where the tree is across the road, or the railroad grade. Let's go see if we can get across it, and we'll keep going this way. If we can't, we're gonna have to go all the way around the grade, so let's move on. Well, we are coming down this way. That water all runs this way. Natural runoff is all over that way. So to ensure it went where I wanted to and didn't wash out here, I kind of dug a trench way off in the woods as an emergency overflow, because there is a culvert in here, and I don't know how much water is going to come down here. I'm thinking there's quite a bit. If we look on the other side, there's water coming through this culvert already, so this is flowing really well. So since we put this culvert in here, I think we did a whole video on this culvert. This is the most amount of snow we've had the first couple of years. Barely any snow, barely any runoff. So when you got a new culvert, you're always a little concerned, but I really like the looks of this, the way it's flowing. The other side over here is buried in snow. You can't see it, so the ground is thawed enough underneath there where it is moving. So I'm going to leave the camera on. We're going to run up the railroad grade, and we'll talk about this, because I know I had a lot of comments in previous videos about my water retention and water runoff, and so let's go check it out. Let's see what we find. I'm pretty sure my calculations worked, so far they have. So let's go check it out. Yeah, you can see it's wet there, so there's water flowing underneath right there. There's the overflow I dug. And it's hard to tell if that's just a wet spot or if there's actually water running that way too. If it gets high enough, I'm sure it's going to run both ways, because we made sure that the water will drain and not run over the bank. And that's a pretty sight right there. We got to might get some more ballast in, but this is how far we made it last year, and it's bare. Good sign of spring. Well, let's see what we got up this ditch. One of the concerns everybody was worried about is all the water and snow melting and running over here. But you see that little white area right on the other side of that? The hill runs the other direction. So I wasn't really too concerned about it. Yeah, this hill goes for quite a long ways all the way up to the train station. But it's a very short hill actually. Once you get up here, it all runs the other direction. So the only melt we're going to get here is really what you can see, and it's not much. There's a little bit more up there. And then once you get far enough, it runs away from us. This will run this way. So I think we're good. This ditch is plenty deep. Man, right here, it's got to be 5 feet deep. If that fills up, we got more problems than I know what to do with. Let's move up the grade and see what it looks like. This is the largest area of runoff here, and you can see it's running pretty good. Not very much water in the bottom of that ditch, so I think the culvert we put in down there will handle it, no problem. And this is the most snow we've had in quite some time. Getting up to the train station, or we got the cars parked, so far I'm pretty satisfied. I'm happy. We're gonna keep an eye on this though, because this snow is kind of like bottomless and it's all really ready to let loose, and when it does we could get a lot more water. But this is our initial investigation. So far, so good. From here runs that way. Yeah, this is how bottomless the snow is. She just sinks. Nothing under there other than railroad tracks. Well, we couldn't take the snowmobile down here because there's too much gravel. We're at the end of our driveway and everything has been flowing here really well. Pretty wet yet. We're getting things pushed off, but everything is flowing here. This is buried, so this, when the snow covers this like this, it normally doesn't freeze because it's well insulated and the ground keeps it warm. But you can see it flowing out over there. And our other driveway culvert is bigger than this one. Let's take a walk down there. Let's see what that one looks like. Mailbox seems high. I don't know if the frost has pushed it up or not. We're gonna take these trees out of here too because they're dead. And some limbs bust off the top of this one in here. So we started to open up our other driveway because we're going to be in and out of here with semis pretty darn soon. Yeah, well, here, look at the snow we got yet. You can see that. That's waist high snow almost. Well, that's all buried, obviously thawed because there's no water backed up. And we got water running through here, so this culvert also is doing very well. I can't see the end and I'm kind of afraid to walk out there. So earlier in the video I was showing you where the water came from the road and it went under the railroad grade. If it plugged, it would come back to the road. Well, this is it right here. It runs down the side of the road here all the way. Then it just kind of goes around that little knob right down there. So if that culvert does get plugged right by the railroad grade over here, it'll just run back out to the road and continue down like it was before. So not a big deal. The other driveway's down there. We got a culvert put in there too. So either way, things will be good. So all in all, everything on the railroad culvert wise is looking good. We will check this again. We'll keep an eye on it for the next few days. In the 50s and 60s, like I'm out here in a t-shirt. I was riding my snowmobile around and it wasn't even cold. So we'll keep an eye on it for the next week. Above freezing every night and 50-60 degrees. So well, we are getting close to being able to work on the railroad again. This snow's melting. It's going to melt fastest next week. I'm guessing within the next week we'll be able to run around here with the gator just about anywhere we want to, other than the mud. So it's pretty exciting. Stay tuned. We'll be working on the railroad before you know it. We'll see you next week. And don't forget to put a smile on somebody's face today. Have a great day, everybody.